This is chapter 6 of Colicchies Helping Hand, the reading of Colicchies Helping Hand. So I was 17 years old, now homeless, or I was 17 years homeless, and now I'm still homeless to this day, and I published this book, Homeless. Not knowing what to do about it, I covered it up with the strongest drugs I could find. Stupidly not thinking the drama just got worse as my friends would start dying. So all alone I fell apart. I used even more drugs thinking it would make the pain go away, but it just dug the hole deeper. Then Xanax came out. I didn't know how strong they were, and I was under so much stress that the doctor gave me a prescription for Xanax bars, which are way too strong. I went home not knowing what I had. When I got to my house, I took one and blacked out from it. Not knowing it, I took the rest of the whole bottle, 45 Xanax bars. Then I took a drive in my car that I only had for 2 days. I only owned this car, not knowing what I was doing. On my drive, I flipped my car 7 times and wrecked so bad that they publicly displayed my car in a town for everyone to see, warning people not to drive on drugs or drink alcohol driving. I ended up in a mental hospital for 3 weeks as I literally was a zombie from that much Xanax. I didn't know who I was. I didn't know who my parents even was when they picked me up 3 weeks after the incident, after me leaving the hospital. I still didn't know anything, who they were, or myself. When I came back to my senses, I woke up in my bed at home. I got up and went to the kitchen to make a sandwich and got a glass of milk and walked past my parents as they were speechless watching me, like a dead man walking through their living room. I went to my room, ate. No one said anything to me. Well, I wanted something out of my car, so I walked out of my room, opened the front door with my parents watching, and I said, "Oh shit." They said, "What?" I turned toward them and said, "Someone stole my car." "Yeah, my car is gone," I said. He said, "My dad, you're lucky to be alive." I said, "What are you talking about?" He said, "You flipped your car 7 times, and you have been in a mental hospital for the last 3 weeks. You took your whole bottle of Xanax right when you got home. You were in a mental hospital for 3 weeks not knowing anything. You were a vegetable." I was speechless, looking out the door where my car used to be parked. Getting clean was impossible, I thought, without a support system. After a few weeks of still smoking weed and drinking and basically stupidly not changing, I stopped doing pills for a year or so, but still never sober. I was just doing other drugs thinking I was cleaning up my act, but not doing bad stuff. But this was just an illusion of my mind for things to get worse. Trying to cover up myself from myself because I couldn't cope with losing my daughter for no reason. My life was wrong in many ways, smiling after I fell apart, further falling down drunk in courtrooms, and going to jail for failing drug tests all the time. But when I was released, I would always think about a cigarette and getting high. I hated everything. So I ran away to every drug I could sit in. So lost I fell apart I was. I would see terrible things like hookers overdosing in trap houses, and someone would leave her in an alleyway or a sidewalk to die. I would sneak away from the trap house and call 911 before I ran home, remembering trying to buy dope so fast I could help her. So crazy it all was. Death, crime, every day, like that again. I would see the same girl coming back, doing the drugs and hooking up, and I thought how I could help her when I couldn't even help myself. I would pray for all these people ignoring my problems. It was like I was in a sinking boat and bailing out the water. Drugs was the water as I was drowning. I was trying to break away from the chaos, but more I would see, the worse it would get. I would use the drugs. Then I was homeless, doing coke, pills, crack, heroin, fentanyl, as lighters and drugs burned through my soul. I would scream in my mind as I wake up sick, saying to myself, why don't you just die so this'll stop? I couldn't take it anymore. All the death and crime were making me worse. I would wake up vomiting out of my tent door, forgetting and too sick to do it somewhere else. I would crawl out of my tent half dead and sick through the puke, then do whatever it took to get dope, to get better for the day. But every morning, the clock was ticking, and the sicker I got, till I got money, I lived in hell. No one could see it. So I went home one day and I told my parents I'm a heroin addict and I was sick. And I started withdrawing so bad, Dad didn't know what to do. He gave me $20 to get better and try to wean myself off the heroin so I wouldn't not puke out my window. That way, my parents didn't know what I was doing. They would hear me getting sick in the bathroom. My mind at this point was a big spiral. So I ran away on the road to get clean, driving my car, withdrawing, pushing the gas pedal fast, hitting the brakes, excruciatingly painful it was as I withdrew. So I got to Kansas, called Mom, and needed a hotel room to withdraw in before I would wreck my car. I told her I'm withdrawing bad, please. She agreed. She got me a room for 3 days. They had a pool there. But being dope sick, hot and cold flashes constantly, I would have died if I would have gotten the pool of hypothermia, it seemed. So I withdrew for 3 days in the hotel room, eating only a few peanuts. And I was diabetic. I was very much half dead. I got on YouTube and typed in songs about heroin and found Colicchies Drug Addiction 1 and 2. It helped me push through a lot of these withdrawals and a lot of through my past. So I drove my car. Unbelievable. I didn't die. I started from there using Colicchi's music as therapy. No one ever told me you could do that. I just did it because what those songs just got me out of was incredible. I lived in my car and I was completely suicidal. Colicchi started talking to me on YouTube when I would message him, and it would help bring me out of the dark. Out there where I was all alone on the road would help me bring me out of the dark. Out there where I was alone, night and day, all the time. I knew if I was hitchhiking every day that I made it, it was a miracle. So treating drug addiction like every day clean was a miracle. regardless of how long you've been clean. I was in a sad hole where no one cared for me but my parents and Colicchi. And having Colicchi as a friend was beyond a blessing from God. Amen. When I was out there, it kept me clean through all the cities and the countryside, encountering drug addicts everywhere. It was like his music was my armor around my soul as I traveled and helped everyone I saw in trouble. Toward the end of my travels, going through all that hell in my other book, The Diary of a Drifter, Colicchi encouraged me like everyone. I encourage the United States to read this book and The Diary of a Drifter. But it also meant so much, but it also meant something different to me when Colicchi started to encourage me about doing it and pushing forward no matter what. Without Colicchi, The Diary of a Drifter probably wouldn't be here. My book, it wouldn't exist. Without his music, I would have probably been still on drugs. So thank you, my friend. I mean that. For everything. Thank you. Through Colicchi's words and faith, I stayed sober off heroin and all other drugs. I know I'm still in trouble from catching hepatitis C from being on heroin. By some miracle, I had a rare antibody in my blood and it cured me of it after I got clean. So, for hepatitis C, I was prescribed medical marijuana. In my mind, I couldn't continue to be my nightmare. I didn't want none of this to keep going. I didn't even want the marijuana, but I really didn't have a choice. Hepatitis C really makes you tired all the time, and cannabis would help block that. So where am I now in this crazy story? Right now, I'm in a hotel room. I wrote this in a hotel room. I'm in a storage unit right now, kind of living homeless. But I wrote this at the time I was in a hotel room when I wrote it. I said I'm in a hotel room looking at nice apartments out the hotel window. I was watching these people smiling and laughing, eating food, listening to music, dancing on a balcony. As I looked out the hotel window, I remember thinking, after all this, how do I go back to being a normal person? Like people I'm watching. So lost, I wanted to cry and scream. But I walked away and went out to smoke a cigarette. I messaged Colicchi. He told me I shouldn't isolate myself so much. But the way I would isolate myself for years because of all the pain I had been through. I'm not very good at socializing a lot of the time, as I also try to fix the broken pieces of this life scattered through all the streets and avenues. So the point is, suffering equals drugs, plus too much stress for a person is too overwhelming for everyone. That's every addict I ever met. We need to change this world. And the best start is changing how we treat one another so addicts are no longer so lost. But when we stand together to accomplish all we need to do, then just keep reading that again, over and over, until the whole world reads this, and until people get enough to turn it into action, not just words. So many people don't listen. bust through all the negativity and fix the problems. Because look how bad we're doing when it comes to global warming, not acting. And unfortunately, another person just died of another heroin overdose while I'm reading this. This hemorrhaging needs to stop. People need to stop going about their days and do something. People are dying when they don't need to. When will we do all we can and stand together? Alright, please go to chapter 6 to finish the rest of this book.